Oh, hello friends. Great to see you again. So, in this episode we are going to investigate how a blocked throat chakra affects you in the online world, or how it could prevent you from having an effective and fun online presence. We're going to be investigating exactly what happens when you go online. Let's say intending to communicate with people or advertise your business or your art, or just to express yourself and have fun. But your throat chakra might block you from being your most empowered and best self. Simply put, it might shut you down. So yeah, thank you very much for watching this. Hopefully you'll get a lot from it. Before we go any further, if you're into this kind of content, please subscribe to the channel. You know, I keep saying this in my videos, and some of you lovelies, keep ignoring me. Now, I know you're watching this right now. I'm talking to you, actually. Just you, only you. Not to somebody else who's standing behind you, for example. You. So, would you mind subscribing? And even better, would you mind commenting to let me know how your voice is online? How is it working out for you, and how do you feel about being online? So I'm suggesting that you actually pause the video and just go for it. So online, I feel really like I shrink, or I hate being online. Whatever it is for you, please drop a comment. Let's share this. And there's a reason for my insistence here. If you want to overcome a resistance or a block to your online voice and presence, you're going to have to overcome your habit of being a passive consumer, scrolling through Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, and just watching, consuming numbly and dumbly. And the best way to do that is to start to engage. Get involved, like utilize the voice. And this comment section below this video is the perfect place to get busy with that. So if you want to level up, pause, comment, and then resume. Okay, great. Okay, so there's a big tractor outside, and that's okay. But let's move on. So I think one of the very first steps that is useful when looking at our online presence is to understand our why. Because I think that if at a deep level we don't want to do it, it's really good to look at that and at least honor the parts of us that think that this whole social media malarkey is actually awful. And if you have that belief, it's going to play havoc with your ability to be online. So if every time you go to post, a part of you is saying, I hate myself when I do this, and I actually hate social media, then good luck with being consistent. And if that's the underlying feeling, there's going to be quite a large saboteur element alongside all your hard efforts to express yourself online. It's worth considering a mindset shift for this. In other words, just looking at and accepting that this is how it is. This online life is how it is on planet Earth right now. This is how human beings interact right now. I accept and I work with what is. Most importantly, if you're going to do stuff online, do not make it about yourself. When we make it about me and whether I've posted, whether they liked what I did, or whether they approved of what I did, and eek, what did they think of me? What did they think of my song or my poem or my wise quote or my yoga asana? Oh, did they like it? I didn't get that many likes for this one. Oh, lordy, it becomes an incredibly selfish act, bizarrely, and actually very painful. And the moment we switch it around and make it about sharing and opening up and being of service and contributing to the common good and just loving up everyone else, I think it gets way easier. Every time we go to post, then we can just say, it's simply not about me. And it certainly helps if you feel like you've got a bit of a purpose and you want to contribute. So the question is, why do you want to be online? Defining and exploring that really helps. Then if a few people don't like the way you're expressing yourself, perfect. It's great to weed them out and help them unfollow you as fast as possible so you can get on with following your purpose and your reason for being here. So next I want to talk about the infamous imposter syndrome. I think this is a pretty famous and ubiquitous notion, and for good reason, because we all suffer from it. And it's a huge thing in the coaching and consciousness and social media world, and gets discussed a lot. What is it? So, imposter syndrome is the notion that everyone feels like an imposter a lot in life and in work. Like, I don't really know what I'm supposed to do, or I don't know what I'm doing a lot of the time, and I'm making it up. And I'm really at the edge of my abilities, and actually I'm really frightened of being caught out. And the truth is, all of us are doing things for the first time, all of the time, and are making it up as we go along. Ask any president who enters office looking highly confident, like they know what they're doing. But when they arrive in that office, and actually for most of it, I don't know if you look closely, they're all bumbling along, making it up as they go along with not a clue how to really do it effectively. And we're actually the same. So the truth is, they're clueless when they get there and pretending a lot, and so are we. And if you're going to get good at being online, you'll just have to work through that sense of imposter syndrome. In other words, move through it, forgiving yourself for not having a clue, and because that's the thing. And even potentially having a bit of a sense of humor about it. Because it is kind of funny. And I think the same thing is true with famous musicians and artists. They experience this too, is that all the way along, they mostly don't have a clue, and they're also just making it up as they go along. And if they just happen to get to succeed, it's often just by lucky accident and perseverance. But with a lot of pretending and looking vaguely confident and making it up, and making a lot of mistakes as they go along. And so modern social media asks for authenticity. So it's now even fashionable to let people into our vulnerability and humanity. What a gift. So we're being asked to just pitch up as we are in the moment. And so to develop an online presence, we push through the imposter syndrome, pushing through not knowing, and basically open up to making a lot of mistakes in the public eye. Are you ready to make mistakes and be authentic and be human? So the next obstacle, perfectionism. Give me an amen if you're a recovering perfectionist. This is a big one. Hand on heart, I am absolutely a recovering perfectionist, and I've got miles to go on this. To define it in this context, it's the need to have a manicured or perfect public image, and for all of one's work to be perfect before it gets seen by anyone else. Of course, this is the death of creativity and spontaneity. It's the death of dancing like no one cares. It's also the death of singing and speaking, or singing and speaking creatively. Because if we're going to do this thing online, then we need to be prepared to turn on the camera and be imperfect all the time and let people see our imperfections. Are you up for that? Because I'm just sitting in this seat, and I'm going to do this in one take, and I'm going to and make mistakes, and it's going to be okay. And I think the theory is just keep doing it and keep trying. So, how do we heal this? The good thing about this is you can train through it at the behavioral level. In other words, the more you just do it, practice being imperfect, embracing and laughing at your humanness, the easier it gets. And consistent pitching up is required here. So if we relax our perfectionism, keep trying and pushing through, and make it not about me, it gets easier. And we let our ugly, beautiful, real self appear online to be of service and to playfully explore this medium. But as we do this, some leviathans from the deep may arise. And one of them is the feeling of shame. In other words, feeling judged, less than, feeling not good enough in the eyes of others. Shame is defined as an unpleasant self-conscious emotion typically associated with a negative evaluation of the self. Withdrawal motivations and feelings of distress, exposure, mistrust, powerlessness, and worthlessness. Okay, that's a lot of feelings. And a lot of feelings may arise, even at a subtle level. And I'd really urge you to feel what happens when you post. As someone who works with trauma, It's really interesting to observe people, including myself, who shy away from social media. And very frequently shame can be at play here, resulting from trauma and early developmental wounding. And with that may come low-level unconscious terror of being judged or condemned by others, by them. In other words, the people out there. In other words, if I make strong statements online, I will be judged, hung, drawn or quartered, or burnt at the stake like the witches of yore. This stuff can be lurking in our ancestral DNA or past lives or whatever your belief system is. Modern science shows us that trauma can be passed down through multiple generations via our DNA. So many of the anxious and traumatized feelings we have are not even our own. They're passed through generations and generations and generations. And there's incredible science that demonstrates and proves this. So, you want to take a breath with me? So, it can be a radical kind of shutdown in the throat chakra. And it might relate to shame or subtle or gross abuses in household environments as a child or sexual shaming. And all of these will shut down the throat chakra and therefore an online presence, just like that. So please go gently, my friends, go gently. And so we need to nurture and hold ourselves as we put our fledgling posts out and just be really cautious and safe within ourselves and look after ourselves as we do it. I have infinite respect and love and care for all the traumatized, shamed, and anxious beings out there. We're all going to be okay. It just takes time. So let's take a deep, loving, conscious breath once again and really just feel, as you do it, a sense of letting go and let a little bit of love through your body and a little bit of just calming and letting go. Let's do this now. It's really useful just to connect the vocal cords in that sigh as we do it. That helps activate the vagus nerve. Let's do it again. Okay, next. Anxiety. So social anxiety is a huge one, alongside vulnerability. So if we're suffering from anxiety in some shape or form, then putting out our stuff out online can be anxiety provoking, especially if we have social anxiety of some kind. The latter does not make a social presence easy, but it is healable, and there are great tools for managing it. And with all of this, in my experience, and I'm not a social media maven by any means, but the more we do it, the easier it gets. So actually the ugly part is at the beginning, because for a very long time, and I include my work in this, no one gives a shit, and for the most part they ignore you. And there's a kind of a double-edged sword to that. On the one side, that means you can make a lot of mistakes and very few people see it. But it does make it kind of thankless and vulnerable for quite a while, because you're not getting any kind of social proof or approval for doing it. And really the reason why they're ignoring you is because actually everyone is really just interested in what's in it for them. And generally, as one is developing confidence, we tend to drop constipated little posts, eek, and it takes a while to develop mastery and flow and confidence in this, of course. So you have to be prepared to go through the ugly phase that involves no approval and little reward. And if you're anxious and vulnerable, you're going to have to just tough it out through the initial months and potentially years of developing the skill set and finding your voice online. Can I repeat that again? Finding your voice online. So that's what we're doing. And the gift is that even here we have to face the dysregulation in our social engagement system, which is what you'd experience in a crowd of people. So the gift is that you can heal in this online environment. Going online can be a healing process if you do it consciously. When you open up to Instagram, it's highly unlikely that, in truth, that anyone's going to attack you. And it's very unlikely that you're going to be shamed. So you're actually very safe, even though your nervous system might be saying otherwise. And as you post more, you can prove to yourself that very seldom will you be shamed and definitely never outcast. And all of the fears and feelings that arise can be met and worked with, and in many cases released. In other words, with your social anxiety, you can work with a clinician or healer or self-medicate with TRE, tapping, breath, meditation, and so on. And all of this will help make the online world safer and more fun to play in. So, what do we do today when we're suffering from throat chakra blocks that prevent us from going online? Well, there are a lot of resources available for free online, and the techniques I mentioned before for releasing some of the social anxiety, shame, and general anxiety triggers, all of those help. At the most basic level, as I've said, mindset shifts help, and especially stopping looking for approval when you post, because you just won't get it. Do it as part of following your purpose, or because you want to do it for you. And perhaps for those of you that want to serve and help. Don't do it for your needy self, because that's a recipe for not getting your needs met. And so, explore it playfully, not expecting anyone to play with you, but just to try stuff out and not give a damn. Doing it and failing is completely part of the recipe too. So if you can embrace a mindset of playfulness, embracing failure, and looking like a fool, all of that can help. Because there's no pride to be had in this, and it's not going to prop up our egos. In fact, it'll probably do the opposite. And another thing I want to mention, and I think this is really key in healing journeys, and it's really key for being online: consistency. As the cliche goes, success online is only a question of whether you have both the courage and the follow-through to be consistent. That will be the measure of whether you'll succeed. I just suggest don't give up and keep trying and going through the fearful and discouraging moments. So we've spoken a bit about perfectionism, and I think letting go of perfectionism is an incredible lesson that going online offers. The invitation is to be more real, more raw, just as we are, and learn to be more authentic. Pitch up with your hair just as it is. None of us can see a barber or a hairdresser right now. You know, my hair's growing. I suggest you watch this YouTube channel and read this blog. If nothing else, just to watch my hair grow. It's going to be really interesting seeing yet another human being slowly but surely get more woolly and wild as the weeks and months go on. So the encouragement is really for us to pitch up as our real selves, our real imperfect selves, and let the world see that. And that's its own kind of therapy for perfectionism. Go live. Just go live and say stuff. People will ignore you for the most part. Maybe one or two will say something. Just go live and talk a bit and just have some fun with it and keep doing it. Be consistent. So, just to turn full circle back to the beginning. Just align to your why. Take a deep breath. Remember why you're doing this and for whom. And post for that reason. And that's really all I have to say today. That was my little rant about going online. Thank you for being with me. I hope you enjoyed this. Yeah, it's been a treat sharing this with you. Thank you for your eyeballs and your attention. And I'm sending you much love wherever you are. I hope you're healthy. If you haven't commented, do let me know how you are and where you are and what it's like. Are you in lockdown, or can you go for walks? I live on a farm, and so I can take a little ramble out there and just walk on muddy paths, because it's going on winter. Well, it's autumn, but going on winter. So I'm sending love wherever you are. And lastly, if you want more resources on this subject, please click on some of the other videos on either side of me, here and here. They're about unblocking your throat chakra from many different angles, or in fact, all of the angles known to humanity, really. And if this area is your block in life, I've got you covered. Please subscribe and let me know if you've enjoyed this by commenting below. Take care of you.